Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to this After Effects tutorial in which I'm going to teach you how to create a 3D jet and fly it by a camera. Really using some awesome stock footage from free stock footage for free.com, and it's going to be awesome. Hopefully we can get this tutorial done in time, and as we move on I will show you the things you need, but I guess I have to get something right out of the way, and that is you will need Element 3D because that's what we're going to be using, and you'll need Video Copilot's optical flares because we're going to be using that for the light trail of the jet. Another thing that you might want to know is that all the links to everything we use in this tutorial are going to be in the description. So for example, you need the footage, head over to the link in the description, from a purchase Element 3D or Video Copilot's optical flares, that too in the description, as well as a few jet models. So let's get right into it, and I'm using After Effects CS6. So I'm going to just create a new composition and make it 10 seconds long. Just make this 1920 by 1080 because that's the resolution of our footage, and hit OK. I'm going to drag in our footage into the new composition, and now as you can see, oops, not perfect, but okay, now as you can see I just replaced it, but now as you can see it looks great. It is a bit longer than 10 seconds, about 15 to 16 seconds long, or maybe 13. How long is it? About 13 or 14 seconds. But that doesn't really matter because I'm not going to be using this comp anyway. It's just to show you guys what we're going to do. So I'm going to drag in the After Effects camera tracker. As you can see, misspelled that, oops, can't even see my keyboard, which is why I'm spelling it incorrectly, but anyways, it's under the perspective, and you can drag that on to your footage, and it's going to start analyzing right away. It's going to be initializing a few frames. After that, it's going to solve the camera, and you can use the Foundry's camera tracker if you don't have After Effects CS6. It works pretty similar, but just because we're using After Effects CS6, we can use this. So I don't want to make you guys wait through all this, so I'm just going to delete this, and even the composition right here. That's just comp 1, delete. Over here we've got a comp setup, and I've already solved the camera, so you don't actually have to click anything to solve the camera. Once it's done initializing the frames and analyzing, it will solve automatically, and now basically this is what you've got. So right off the bat, we're gonna have to create a camera, so let's go ahead and do that. And once we've created a camera, we're almost set. So let's create a new solid now. It's gonna be our element 3D layer. So let's type that in, element, and let's just leave it white. We don't really need to worry about the color because that won't affect the effect at all. So let's drag an element onto that layer, and let's go to scene setup. And once it's loaded up, now I've got a few models here that I have saved previously, and this is a jet model that is a bit of a higher poly than the ones that I showed you previously. Oh, I haven't even showed you them, my bad, because trust me, I've done this take a few times, so I can't even remember if I've showed you guys this or not. But anyways, these are the models that you can check out on TurboSquid. Oh no, this is the free 3dmodels.com, so you can go check those out, and there'll be links in the descriptions to a few of these too. So yeah, there are a few good ones out there, but this specific model is a bit bigger than those and better resolution, but I actually don't know where I got this from. I can't really remember right now, so I'm gonna try to find it and leave it in the description for you guys to download. But these ones are what you can expect from the ones off of free3dmodels.com. As you can see, it's pretty decent, but let's use this one just because I used it in the final product. Now, one thing I do want to note is that when the jet is in the sky, it does not have wheels, so it's going to be looking pretty ridiculous if those wheels are on there and it's flying. So apparently it's the first material, so let's just shut that off, and there we go. We've gotten rid of the wheels, and if we want to, we can get rid of this heavy duty equipment, the missiles. Just more cleaner and nothing to worry about, but I want the enemy to worry about something, so let's have those there. Although we do blow them up in the future. Anyways, let's hit OK, and it is set. Not really. Let's go to the group 1 particle replicator, and try to adjust a few settings. We're going to go to the particle look at the same time and rotation. So we've got quite a few things opened here, and it is a bit overwhelming, but don't worry, I'm going to get you guys through this. The first thing we need to do is, see where we're at. So if I play this through, now Element 3D is going to be reacting to the camera. So let's see what happens when I play through. I'm going to change this quality down just so that we can play things a bit faster, and previewing a bit slowly, but that's okay because I've got a few other things running on the computer right now. But hopefully this shouldn't be that bad. And as you can see, this is what we've got, and it looks fairly, in the scene as is. But here's something that I would do. I would hit my I would select the effect, and I would choose some point like this one, and I'll create a null object. So that's basically, this null object is, in that Z space. So if I go to my element right now and I copy paste the Z value for this, you can see what it's going to look like. Let me just check it out for a second. P, and then just take the Z value, so Control C it, and then Control V right here onto the Z. So now if I leave it, you can see it goes very far back, but now if I show you, as you can see, it looks like it has been stuck right onto this rock. Now this is not really necessary for this certain effect, because we are going to be messing around with this position Z mostly to fly our plane. But if you do want to do something like text, and for example you've got a plane and that's where you want your text to be, then this is what I would do. I would use the Z value of the null that we've created and use that, because then that will make our element layer stick to it a lot better. But now I want to see how much time we have gone by. Can I do that? Nope. Alright. Gonna have to wing it. Okay, let's continue with this. I'm gonna change the Z value back to 0. I just want to show you guys a few extra things that you could do with element and the camera tracker, just so that you guys know what's up. So first thing, I'm gonna rotate it on the y-axis just so that we have it facing this way. On the x-axis a little bit so that we are facing like so. The Z is just a bit to the side because I'm gonna sort of make it turn on this towards this way, so just a little bit tilting will settle that. So we also want to I'm gonna take it down, and I want to take it to the right, and that's gonna be your position XY that you're messing with. So yep, Y is that, and X, something like that. And now here's something that you're gonna want to know. When we animate this jet, we're definitely not going to be using the scale value. So you're not going to go to your particle look size and go like that and then make it smaller and then reposition it. That's not what you're going to do. We're going to use the Z value, position Z. So we're going to make it closer to the camera, far away from the camera. And as you can see right now, it's actually below the camera, which is why it doesn't look like it's too close to the camera. If I move this up, however, and then move this back, you can see it looks a lot bigger right now. But that's just where the camera is placed. The camera, if I were to be guessing, is somewhere right around here. So just figure out like where you want your jet to come in from, and I don't want it to come in directly. So I'm going to go in about a second, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reposition this a little bit, make sure it's where I want it to be. And maybe like maybe I don't want this tilting because it's just not working for me. We can maybe animate that, or maybe like just 2 degrees to make it look leveled, and that looks okay. It just looks decent. So now I'm going to move this back, and as you can see, it becomes quite big, so I'm going to move this towards that side and a bit down, and now I'm going to move it out of frame. And now we're going to hit the stopwatches for both position XY and position Z, so that we can do some keyframing here. Let's fit this up to composition, and then we're going to go about a second or 2, just about a second maybe, or a second and a half, and then we want to just increase this till we go all the way to about really far away. And then I want to move up move it up and move it to the side. So as you can see, because of the Z value not being rotated like that, it looks a bit weird, as if, you know, it's been gliding onto that way, as you can see. But right about here, as you can see, we can already see it, which is not what we want. So you just move this back. And that's not going to make a difference, because if you press U to bring up the keyframes, our initial starting point is this. So it's going to look fine. Don't worry about that. So here's what we've got. And one thing that I'm not liking in this animation is that it's coming in from a bit, and I want to make it, let's make it to the right a bit more. Sorry, this is the X value, so now let's try it. To the right like that. And okay, so that's better. But if I play this back, let's just do a quick preview of it. You can see it's not that fast. And another thing you might want to notice is that it looks like it's going towards left, but it looks like it's going straight. So it looks really weird, and that's because of our y rotation. So just keep it sort of in the orientation where the plane is gliding, or where is it going towards. So that looks a lot better, as you can see. And this is the initial point where it's going to be blowing up. So I can stop the animation here, and this was a bit of a, you know, this is why I actually initially did the explosion. I was never going to do it, but then I was like, okay, I've got the animation until here, how do I end it? Because if I take this any further, it's going to look a bit weird, you know. So that's why I did the explosion, to be most honest with you guys. So it's looking fine. I would maybe think about speeding it up a little more, so I could bring in these keyframes a bit closer, or I could just increase the Z value even more, and, you know, move this around here. And here's what I've got, and it does not look right again, so I'm just gonna move this a little bit like that, and that's looking dandy. That's looking okay. So another thing that we're definitely going to be needing is some lighting and some, well, ambient occlusion and some motion blur. All of this stuff is not very hard, but let's get the motion blur and see what it's going to look like. So hit the motion blur for that layer, and turn on motion blur. And we've got a bit of an ugliness to deal with here. Now, motion blur is going to slow down our rendering, so we're going to turn it off when we're working with the footage, obviously, but at the end of it we will turn it back on. So as you can see, motion blur does make a difference, but we've got this ugly motion blur going on. If I put this to full res, you can see, let's save this project, Jet, and I'm going to name it Tutorial. Okay, I'm just saving it just in case something goes wrong. But anyways, here is what we don't want. So you can fix this easily. Let's go to the render settings, and let's go to motion blur. And basically you just have to increase the samples. This is going to also increase the render time. And as I increase the samples, you'll see it gets a more smoother motion blur. And it's about 18 right now, so it's quite a bit. And at 20, you can see it's pretty smooth, except we've got some, you know, it doesn't look very well right here. But that's okay, really. If I can take it to 30, it's probably going to fix that. But I don't want to take it that high, because it's going to really slow down on our render. And as you can see, now that it's on full res and it's that much motion blur, check out the render time on this. You'll just notice how much slower it will be. And you'll understand why I'm saying that we really should be not working. We should not work with motion blur. So yeah, as you can see, it really slows it down, but as an end result, it looks a lot nicer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do myself a favor and shut off motion blur so that we don't have to worry about that. Lighting is another thing, and reflection. So reflection's looking a bit weird. Actually, not a bit, very weird. So let's go to scene setup and try and see if we can fix that. If I turn on my environment, I can see there's not like the ideal environment you would want to have for what we're working with. And I mean, I can't find like the best. I just need to find something that will look semi what that looks like, the canyon. So I need anything really that, you know, gives a orange tint to it. So that's what I'm looking for right now. That's definitely not it, but this could work really, because there's green stuff like over here and here, but yep, on second thought, no. I don't really know what I did, but I think in the real one I actually choose town because I wanted it to reflect the sky. So yeah, I think that's okay. It's gonna be pretty fast if I turn on the motion blur, so it's something that you won't really see. So next thing is lighting. Now we could light the scene, singular, sorry, ourselves, but that's time consuming, and we've got a pretty good shortcut here. If I go to the lighting in Element 3D right here and I choose dramatic, you can see it sort of looks like our lighting in the scene. Oops, dropped something there, but anyways, the only difference is, well, it's a bit of a big difference, but doesn't really matter. The difference is that the light's actually coming from the right side, so it should be falling onto this side and here, but in this lighting, the dramatic lighting, it's actually coming in from the left side. So it's a bit like opposite of what our scene is like, but it's going to be fast, and since it looks good on the highlights, it's going to work for us. So that's the lighting bit right there. And now we can also go to ambient occlusion and enable that. So you can just change the intensity like to 5, just to show it a bit more, and that looks alright. So you can press U just to check out where the stuff is, and you can press page down and page up to go frame by frame, and as you can see, it looks fine. But now that I look at it, you know, the the Y rotation is not looking right, so I'm just gonna try and adjust that. But then again, motion blurs, see, the motion blur covers up a lot of these errors and mistakes and flaws that we have, and that's the awesome thing about this jet flyby tutorial, that you don't have to do so much. You just have to try to make it as best as you can, which is not going to be that good. So alright, so now we've got to do the optical flares, the, you know, lights. So let's create a new solid, and we're gonna name this OF, and just hit OK. But I'm gonna just change this color. Sorry, it's off screen. Color like black, because we just want to know that that's the optical flares layer. And let's drag optical flares onto it, and I'm gonna fit this up, and I'm gonna press F4 and change the transfer mode from normal to add, and then place it on one. Now there's not an automatic way of doing this unless you track it, but since it goes pretty fast, it's hard to track the jet. So, and even if you do want to track it, you're gonna have to, I think, render the jet out separately. So it's a long process, and shorter process would just be the animating it by hand, and it's not very difficult, and you'll see why. Let's hit options, because that's not the flare we're going to be using. I'm sorry, it is off screen once again, but let's go to preset browsers. I'm just going to use one of my pro presets. I'm thinking of using like just not a pro preset, maybe one of these. Go into the motion graphics. I don't even remember which one I used, but I want like a really small flare to use. Yeah, subtle glint is decent, but I don't want that. I just want one flare, lens flare. So I'm gonna try to remove that. I'm gonna try to look for it and remove that. That glow is unnecessary. That's unnecessary. So that's pretty much the what I want. But I want to change the color, obviously. And maybe let's just change the color of the streak, because obviously that's not what we want. And about an orangish yellow color, that's great. The streak, I want to maybe increase the opacity and decrease the size like that. And let's just hit OK. Let's see what we've got. So that's pretty much, I think that's what I really use in the real one. But let's hit the keyframe or stopwatch, sorry, on position XY of optical flares, and just go one frame in, page down, and then just take it to that. One frame in again, take it to that. As you can see, since the jet is going forward and it's getting smaller, we're gonna need to make the optical flare smaller too. We don't have to do it, but we can. We'll see how things pan out. So I'm gonna go page down once again. And another thing is that, as you can see, I'm not doing this completely perfect because we don't even need to do it completely perfect. Something that I've just noticed, which is annoying me, is the streak is too prominent. As you can see, it's going like way all the way across screen. So what I'm gonna do is actually just gonna remove it. Now that I think of it, yeah, it's looking pretty decent without it. So as you can see, at this point, we can barely figure out that's where we need to be because it's all illuminated. And I would suggest to just scale it down at this moment so that you can actually see what you're doing, and if you're having this where you should. But I'm just gonna do it in the end because this is just a tutorial, so it doesn't have to be exact. In fact, I don't even think I should be doing this manually, I don't think I should be even keeping this part in the tutorial. I would skip it, but I don't want to because I want to show you guys exactly how it's done. It's gonna be a long tutorial, no doubt about it, but it's worth it, hopefully. So that's it. That's done. We can press U on our optical flares layer to bring up the keyframes for that. A thing that I would like you guys to notice is that right now it's over here, so you can just drag it off screen so it doesn't show in one page down, and you want to just move it also at the back, and now it should just go accordingly. So if I show you, it looks fine, but it needs to get smaller and smaller. So at the beginning, we'll leave the scale, or hit this stopwatch for scale, and at the end, how small shall we make this? Let's see, scale, bring it to 50%, maybe even 20%. And as you can see how badly we've done this, so this is where you might want to readjust things, and this is why I was telling you to scale it down previously, but it'll work for us. So right now it's gonna start off at a bigger value, so let's turn the quality down. So that's what I've got, as you can see. And what I'll do at the end is also at the beginning, maybe we'll add a brightness keyframe, and at the end we'll just bring the brightness down to like 60 maybe, or like 25, or no, maybe like something like 40, and see, that's gonna work for us right there. So instead of, now you were gonna have to do the exact same thing with the other one, but because I just want to keep the brightness and scale like that, I don't want to do that again. I want it to be exactly the same. I'm just going to duplicate this layer, so Control D. And the only difference that we're going to do in this is, well, reanimate it. And I am going to definitely skip this. Alright, so I'm back, and I have animated that flare as well. So I think we're pretty much into time. It's been quite a bit of time. But anyways, we're almost done with this animation, really. And actually, we are done with it if I think about it. Let's see what we have left. We've done with the flares, we've done with the lighting, we've done with the ambient occlusion. We can go ahead and double check this. And you can maybe bring up the radius just a little bit. You know, hey, what's going on? Don't hang on me now. That was great. Just a little bit. And maybe the intensity up to like 8. Just so that we have a more nicer shadowing system going on, and that looks good. So now if I hit the motion blur, you can see, as you can see, that's taking some time to load right there. That's taking some serious time to load. Now, as you can see, these flares are looking really weird because, you know, they're just looking really static right now. So we might have to do the same for the flares. So enable motion blur for the flares, and as you can see now, it looks a lot better in terms of motion blur. So let's move on and to where the animation ends. Like, we don't want to load this, so let's load this on third instead, just to make our life a lot easier. And right about here, I'll just press N so that it, you know, trims that composition to that length. And so this is what we've got, and it might not be the greatest, but it's the basis of what I've done in the original example. So all that I did extra was the explosion, which wasn't very hard. All I did was use a few Action Essentials 2D, stock footage. And another thing that I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna import something, and as you can, man, this is out of screen. But anyways, I've got this in my Angry Birds tutorial package, I guess. But I will put a link in the description from where you can download this. And I'm just gonna fit this up, and those are my awesome, elegant looking black bars. And we're gonna make an adjustment layer, and because of the motion blur, again, we have absolutely no need for any color correction. And what I'm gonna do is just increase the contrast in our shot, and I'll also go to my red channel and bring it down in the shadows and just keep it all right for the highlights and midtones. And on the blues, I'll actually bring the blues up on the shadows and bring them medium on the highlights, and I'll bring down the greens on the highlights and bring them up on midtones. So basically what I've got done here is I've basically taken the shadows and made them a bit bluer and the highlights a bit more reddish. So that's giving us a nicer look. If I turn that on and off, you can see it gives our footage a more stylized look. And that's pretty much it. I will render this and show it to you before I leave. But another thing I do want to do is maybe I want to add a tint. To be honest with you, I didn't even remember what I was talking about. That's why this thing cut. So I just made an excuse of adding a tint effect to desaturate it just a little bit. That's our effect right there, and I hope you liked this tutorial. I can understand that you may have found it a bit long because it is, and I could have cut out a lot of things that I did not. And another thing that I could have done is, well, I could have probably scripted this and planned it out before doing it, but since I've gotten so many requests and since I didn't have much time, I decided to give you this at least. I don't know, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's just watch this and leave it to you guys. I'm gonna leave it to you guys, and just tell me in the comments if you enjoyed this very unscripted and very unplanned or not rehearsed tutorial. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Looks okay. If there was one thing I would change in it, it would definitely be the flares. They're a bit too prominent. And instead of reanimating the, maybe what you could do is go to U and hit U for both the flares. And just go to the beginning and where it says brightness, and just change that down to like 60. 60 this way. You've just got it not very bright and then it looks a bit better that way. But so yeah, that's pretty much it for the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot of things in this one. As you can see, this is not like the one that my real project looked like. You haven't seen it, but there were a lot more layers. It's pretty simple, I would say so, but explore this. Try it with other vehicles like helicopters. The difficulty that you might have with helicopters is the rotor animation part. For that, you might need you're gonna need a model that has the rotors on separate materials, because otherwise you won't be able to rotate them inside of After Effects with Element 3D. But that's that. I'll hope to see you guys in another video of mine, and goodbye. See you later and enjoy.